Hi guys, what's going on? I'm Ivelos and today we are back with another episode of Total War Arena. So I've done quite a few unique guides for this game, particularly down the Barbarian Tetris, looking at the various cavalry units that are available in the game. I recently did one for these Tier 8 Niflheim Riders, or Niflheim Riders, however you say it. But I've realised I've never actually done one for the commander, for Arminius himself. So I thought it would be good to stop and just do a very quick video, just to have a quick look at his skills and sort of how they're used in battle and how they play out. And then I might do this for a few of the other commanders, as sort of a bit of a comparison as well. So, Arminius, he's one of the starting commanders for the Barbarian Tetri, and he sort of is given the speciality of cavalry, which is obviously his main focus and what his skills are geared towards. Although he isn't exclusively a cavalry commander, he actually works pretty well with infantry and archers as well. Particularly things like the momentum is quite good for the barbarian infantry. It allows them to advance up to battle pretty quickly, allows them then to catch up with enemy archers, that sort of thing, and gives them sort of a bit of extra charge when they get going as well, so it's available to all infantry units. Frenzy, again, a particularly good ability, gives massively increased melee attack, so it's sort of a bit like the Roman infantry's Vengeance, so that's quite useful for infantry. And then Infiltration, not a particularly useful ability in my opinion, but could also be applied to infantry as well. So, but his main aim is obviously as a cavalry commander, so how do these different skills work together? So Momentum is my personal favourite. I think this is just a hugely useful skill. If we go into a bit more detail in his skill Tetri, we can see the main thing it gives is increased movement speed, increased turn speed. So it gives an extra 20% movement speed above the base value. So this takes you from a movement sort of 9 meters a second, 10 meters a second, up to 11, 12 meters a second. It really just makes you the fastest unit on the battlefield when you're using it with cavalry, apart from other barbarian cavalry, obviously, which are a similar speed to you. You'll be far, far, far quicker than the other Roman cavalry and Greek cavalry. Plus, the extra turn speed means, you know, if you're running through forests or long grass and that sort of thing, and you suddenly, you know, with a short view range and you suddenly bump into an enemy unit, you can very quickly turn around and get out of there without getting into trouble. You also get a, obviously, bearing in mind mine's fairly upgraded now, we're sort of full tier 7 upgraded, and I'm currently on to tier 8. The extra impact damage is nice. When this is activated, it gives increased impact damage into the enemy units. And the negative ground effect modifier just basically means if you're running through mud or a river or that sort of thing, it doesn't have such a negative impact on your speed, which is obviously useful, but not the most important thing. And finally, the good thing about Momentum is that it's a toggle ability, so once you've toggled it on, it will apply to all your units, and so long as you keep moving, it will never end. It doesn't time out, it will last until you stand still. So that means as long as you keep moving, which is what you should really be doing with Barbarian Cavalry anyway, even if you're not in a fight, keep moving around, Momentum will always be activated. So then when you do that first charge, you'll always get that impact damage bonus, and you'll always have that extra movement and turn speed activated. So I think it's just the best, almost passive ability, but I think it's just the best one in the game for Arminius so far. So then at tier 3, you unlock the Frenzy ability, which is obviously a very good ability. You're basically sacrificing melee defense for massively increased melee attack. So if you remember, there's a difference between a melee attack and melee damage. So let's just quickly pop out here and look on some of the units so I can show you. So he gains a massive increase in melee attack. You see my melee attack is 132 with a melee weapon damage of 196. So melee attack determines how likely your unit is to land a hit upon an enemy. So if you're fighting very well-armoured Roman infantry who have got a massive defence buff, something like that, and you've got a low melee attack, even if you have super high weapons damage, you're never going to actually lend an attack to use that damage. So melee attack determines how often you score a hit, and then melee weapons damage determines that once you've scored a hit, how much damage is then done to the unit. So Arminius gives you a massive buff, almost 100%, 95% bonus to the attack. So even units that have got really high defense, big shields, good armor, will still get a lot of hits landed on them when this ability is activated. It runs for 15 seconds, it's a reasonable amount of time. Particularly effective after you just hit that charge into the enemy unit, and then you smash the Frenzy and you start to rip into them with a lot of damage. But obviously you do lose the melee defense, which is obviously a consequence. But considering that the barbarians by and large don't have very much armor anyway, when you lose 75% of almost nothing, it's still not really a great deal. So in my opinion, a very good ability. And his final ability at tier 5, which I don't rate particularly highly, is Infiltration. So you see I haven't really done a lot to upgrade this, although I will do in time. So Infiltration is basically, it turns your unit to make it look like an enemy unit, so the enemy players will see you as a friendly unit. And while this is kind of effective at tier 5, where people aren't always fully aware of it, once you start to get to the higher tiers, people tend to be pretty switched on when it comes to this sort of thing, and tend to notice, you know, when you're in disguise, and will spot you pretty quickly. The only other benefits it has is the fact that once you get, even if the enemy know that you've got this, once you charge into them, you do get that again, an increased impact damage, and it does give you a slight increase to movement speed, which can be upgraded, which I shall do shortly. And it also gives you a slight increase in view range. So it basically means you can see further when you're in infiltration mode. So it's not a bad ability, but it's really the weakest out of the three in my opinion. So I think we'll just have a quick look at a couple of some clips from some of the previous videos I've done, having a quick look at each of these skills, just to sum up sort of my opinion on Arminius. But all in all, I think he's an absolutely excellent commander, and certainly the best barbarian commander for cavalry, but he's also versatile and can be used as an infantry commander or even an archer commander as well. So in this case, I've seen the Greek cavalry in the distance, I've got momentum activated, and I know I want to try and bait them into fake charging me. So I advance towards them, and then I use the sort of massively increased turn speed and momentum and of the momentum ability to quickly turn around and get away and make the Greek cavalry waste their charge without reaching me. I can then turn around far quicker than them and countercharge them back, so I get a full hit into their rear without actually taking any damage from them. And then, because momentum is still activated, I'm still far quicker than these Greek cavalry, so now they're trying to flee to get away from me, but they can't because I'm quicker than them. On top of that, when I slammed into them, I had quickly activated Frenzy, so that gave me 15 seconds of massively increased damage for all intents and purposes, and that means I was doing extra damage to them and basically receiving no damage in return. So I then continued this as I chased them around the back, and this is just a very easy way of just getting lots of free damage. Obviously the barbarians are superior combat wise to the Greek cavalry, but by avoiding that charge we avoided the bulk of the damage. Then obviously in this case I'm using Infiltration. I've entered the long grass so I can't be seen by any of the enemy units, and I've activated Infiltration. So as I emerge out of this side, I should hopefully look like a blue friendly unit. Obviously I also get increased view range and damage, and I'm using it to try and look at to reset the base cap in this case. It seems to work quite well. These javelin men don't actually throw any velites at me until I hit. Then they realise I've obviously been outflanked. Unfortunately I didn't get a very good charge in this case, but that's largely down to the fact that I sort of trying to stop the charge to make sure I didn't run into the building and lose too many units. And I stopped it a little bit too early. But I hope this has given you sort of a little bit of an overview of Arminius' ability. You know, I personally feel that the momentum is obviously a really strong ability. And that really gives you the flexibility because of the sort of options it gives you around movement speed and turn speed, and it really allows you to pick the fight. You know, I can dictate to that Greek cavalry when I'm attacking, and they have no choice in the matter. If Roman cavalry appeared and they're tier higher than me, and I do not want to fight them, I have the speed to get away and avoid that fight. And that's really what Barbarian Cavalry, while using Armenius, is all about. It's about picking and choosing your moments and having that flexibility that no other cavalry units in the game currently have. So I hope you've enjoyed this review, and it's given you sort of a bit of an idea of what Arminius is all about. If you have, give the video a like, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you a fan of Arminius? Subscribe to the channel, we've got plenty more Total War content coming. Thanks guys, and I shall see you in the next video.